your first question. There's been a lot of discussion about the possibilities of closing fire stations. Have any decisions been made to close any stations? If so, what are they? How was the decision made, and does the community participate in those decisions?
Yes, the situation with the fire stations, there was no announcement of closings. That it was a misunderstood process. The fire chief was changing the way that they do the rotations. Our budget hasn't changed in the fire department. Our commitment to protecting our citizens with fire has not changed. The number of staffing levels didn't change over the last 4 or 5 months. What's changed is they made a proposal. The chief made a proposal and sat down with the unions and said, hey, this is the way we want to do this. Because when we have call-offs and we don't have enough manpower to man the stations, we would have a rotating closure. We've been doing that for years, long before even I got here. That process, they were questioning, saying sometimes it leads to 2 closings on one side of the city. And so they want to redirect how they do closings in the future so that we can make sure that we have protection in all 4 quadrants of the city. That was a discussion that was had in council, and that's what's going on now. In reference to the future, when we get our budget numbers for next year, and we determine what our revenue looks like, and we determine what our carryover is, we determine what the retirement structure is. At that point in time, then we'll put together our proposal for 2016 in reference to how many firemen that we'll have and what we can afford to pay for.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Burnaby, I'll pose the same question to you. Do you anticipate having to close any fire stations? If so, how will that decision be made? And will the community and or council participate in the decision?
I think we first need to address the issue currently and the issue with regard to Chief Rich's memo dated October 1. The City of Canton, and again, each and every issue that we've been discussing goes back to finances. We all acknowledge that the city has serious financial issues, serious issues going into the next year, that they have a potential $500,000 shortfall in their payroll account this year. The fire chief and other departments have been instructed to make sure that they are capable of making payroll and making their budgets match. And Chief Rich, therefore, in response to that on October 1, issued a memo signed by him, and he is in charge of operations, not the mayor and not the safety director, which indicated that he is proposing, in order to make budget, because they don't have sufficient money, to begin closing stations in wards 8, 3, and 6 on a more frequent basis than is currently being utilized. And again, that is to make budget because they are short. This is a problem that's anticipated to go into next year, but it is very, very critical. Safety is a critical issue. We first talked about crime, but we do need to talk about fire. The numbers in the fire department are also drastically down. Again, 163 personnel in 2008, currently 150, anticipated to reduce to 146 after attrition retirements in 2016. Something simply has to be done in order to maintain the manpower. One of those issues can be used, one of the ways that can be used is to open up more stations utilizing the ambulance runs, which in fact generates income and revenue, which in fact helps to pay for firefighters. That is not currently being utilized.
Thank you, Mr. Burnaby. And Mayor, you have 60 seconds for rebuttal.
Yes, fine. The safety of our city is in good hands with our fire department. Again, these are some of the most talented, most trained professionals, not just anywhere in the county, but throughout the state of Ohio. If you ever had an opportunity to do ride along or witness what they do, they are unbelievably talented and do great work, and I'm proud of them. I'm also proud of the situation that we know that we're safe in our city. The number of fires in our city has continued to reduce every year for the past 8 years, and beyond that, it was for a couple decades. The number of fire runs that our firemen have gone lower and lower and lower. The number of EMS runs has continued to rise. More than 85% of our runs, almost 90% of our runs, are basically EMS runs, which means we're going out for ambulance service. And what we're finding is more than half of those are people throughout our city who just need a ride to the doctor, to the hospital. They're calling 911 because they need a ride. And so I'm not sure that our needs are for more EMS trucks out there. I think our need is to figure out how we can transport people who are seniors that need a ride to the hospital and are desperate to get there.
Thank you, Mayor. We've covered the